Welcome to Techtastic, where we navigate the intersection of technology and business, uncovering innovations that redefine our world.
Nicky Senyard, welcome to It's Techtastic. It is so lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are a rare breed. You're a repeat entrepreneur, somebody who had success, exited a company, and got right back into it again.
Somewhat. I think that's a rare breed because I think that's certifiable, but whatever, let's keep going.
That was generally my statement. Like you're doing something that is incredibly difficult. You've been successful at it once, and then you're going back in to try and bottle lightning a second time. It's a very difficult thing. And to your point, you have to be somewhat nuts to do it.
Yes.
What is it that draws you to this entrepreneurial pursuit?
I don't know that it is a draw. I think it's a compulsion. And it wasn't something that I ultimately saw myself doing either. It was more something like there's a problem to solve and I can see how to solve it and nobody else is doing it, so I need to do it. So it's not so much the need to create a business or do something different or even the success of it. It was more along the lines of, I want to work for myself. Somebody asked me the other day, how did I start initially? And it was like, I wanted to work for myself and I wanted to work at home when I had a child. And this was 20 years ago. So this is not sort of like, this is just like, why would you? Of course you can work remotely, like in the world that we live in now. But 20 years ago, it wasn't, or actually longer than that, 25 years ago, it wasn't something that was so common. And so the whole idea about working for myself and creating something gave me that flexibility as a woman and wanting to run a business and all that sort of stuff. And as it turned out, there is this really small concept called leverage, which is you do it once and then you can replicate it 1,000 times. I like the way that printing presses were created, and that's almost one of the most classic forms of leverage. So my background was in consulting, and of course, consulting, you sell hours, but get into technology, then you have leverage. So that's what I ended up creating with my business partner and my husband, was a business that was a technological business. We created an infrastructure. And then once we've got clients hooked, we were able to keep on going. So of course, our first business was an overnight success and took 14 years.
Yeah, very definition of overnight success.
That's right. And we bootstrapped it. So it was, again, probably one of those lightning in a bottle sort of situations where we moved countries, we sold our house to finance it and moved countries and all of that sort of stuff. So I think it was just sheer guts and determination and timing, I suppose.
So you said a bunch of things that are very, very common with serial entrepreneurs. There's the need to work for yourself. I've said that for me, it was always, I'm going to take a bet on myself. I don't need somebody else to take that bet. And why am I going to bet on them? I'm going to bet on myself first. The compulsion to go solve a very hard problem and looking at it and saying, I know I can do this, and having that courage and that conviction to go and do it. The other thing that I loved is that leverage point. Most people, when they found that lightning in the bottle, they created that first opportunity for themselves. There was some magic that they discovered. There was something that they were like, I can do that again. Sometimes it's in the same industry. I now profoundly understand ad tech, and so I'm going to go do ad tech all over again. Often, though, it's a way of looking at the world or a particular way of developing technology, to your point about technology, that can be applied to many different places. What was the leverage that you found? What was the unique thing that you're able to take and reproduce?
So where it came from in the analog world before the world that we live in now, I was a PR consultant. So I ran a PR consultancy. And the leverage in that world was doing a press release or a story through a journalist, and then you amplified the message out to their audience. So it was something very classic before Facebook, before Instagram, before influencers, before all of that sort of stuff. And so technologically, I'd done that for a number of years. And so Google was created 98, 97.
I think it was 98 or 99. It was something like that, though. Yeah.
Right. So at that time is when I discovered online, and there was this really unique concept in digital acquisition, digital marketing at the time called affiliate programs. Mm-hmm. So as a PR consultant, I was about the earned media space. the internet at the time was about clicks and eyeballs. So that sort of inherently rubbed me up the wrong way because it was more the advertising model than the earned media model. So as it turned out, we got involved with a business and they needed a bespoke affiliate technology. So we designed it, created it, and then went out there and did it. And for me, publishers were like the journalists. The product that we were selling or pushing or promoting or whatever else was just like the professional consulting firms that I've been working with. So it seemed completely feasible, not knowing what you don't know, of course. And then, of course, moving countries, because that's what you do when you start a new business. You need to move countries to an infrastructure you don't know, with no friends, no family, all that sort of stuff. So that's what you do.
Give away your entire support network, just start over from scratch. Yeah,
that's exactly, and honestly, that's what we did. So we developed technology, affiliate technology designed. I'm a niche player. I like niches. When I was doing PR, it was professional services. I liked niches. So I went into another niche, and the niche was regulated online gambling, because that's where you find in 2000.
Yeah.
So we developed a product and a niche for regulated online gambling to the point that we exited the business in 2016, created it in 2002 as a business. And at the point in time, I think anecdotally, we reported 85% of the world traffic in affiliate programs for online gambling.
Wow. So there was a lot of overlap when I was at AppNexus and we were building out our ad tech platform there. Affiliate marketing to us was a smaller market than what we were doing. We were like every eyeball on every web page all over the place. But like if you were doing e-commerce, it was a much better mechanism for your return, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And which is where the earned media comes in, right? Earned media is a much better impact on your return.
Yeah. And if Google hadn't swallowed the world, I think that it was the better route for everybody.
Well, it's really interesting. Well, it's interesting. I now am doing affiliate programs for a different industry. So unfortunately, it's the same hammer, but a different context. And I'm telling you, it's just like things that I would love a repeat entrepreneur to know, so they don't make the same mistakes. Well, not mistakes, but they're sort of like a little bit more conscious about things. So it's interesting, affiliate program, and this is anecdotal again. So, please don't, anybody that's listening, this is a rule of thumb, not the rule of the world. Affiliate programs for retail account for about 7 to 10% of the acquisition funnel, which probably replicates what you've experienced before. And it's really because if I'm going to do an Instagram purchase, if I see something displayed to me on Instagram or an ad somewhere or whatever else, I'm likely to click on it or not or whatever else. There's not a whole lot of consideration that goes into it. But as soon as consideration and trust become sort of crucial to the equation, affiliate programs become a lot more impactful, because these publishers, like it or not, they're out there being that referral site, that conduit to the audience, that education piece. So in online gambling, at the time I was in it, affiliates accounted for about 30% of the acquisition funnel. And the industry that I'm in at the moment, which is financial services, accounts for anywhere between 30 and 45% of the acquisition funnel.
Very interesting. Now, I'm really curious because with ChatGPT and the rise of AI, we're seeing a displacement of the traditional internet. Now, it's early and not everybody's moved that way, but for myself, I use Google and other search tools about a third as much as I used to on a daily basis. And I've started using the various chat tools a lot more frequently to do the same job. Like I want information on X, Y, or Z, I'm going to go do it. I only go to the web when I need today information. I need really, really current. But if I want general knowledge, right, I'm going to the AI tools.
Yep, absolutely. And consumer behavior will end up shifting. The difficulty is that when you're actually wanting to make a financial choice, the skewing of data related to sort of like the reason that publishers work so well and the reasons that numerous publishers are needed to make the ecosystem work is because people don't go to just one source. And fair enough, you can say that a ChatGPT or AI technology is synthesizing a whole lot of sources. Until you see the nuanced differences, that you start to appreciate what a product mix is or what a product, especially in financial services, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like financial services is a different beast adjunctly.
You touched on, I think, the most important topic when it comes to advertising in any form, whether it's paid advertising or if it's performance-based advertising or any of the other different models. It even comes up when you're talking about influencers. What you're really doing is you're buying the trust that somebody has in some other form. So
Leveraging the trust.
you're leveraging the trust. What happens when my AI assistant becomes my most trusted resource?
I don't know that we as human beings are, I don't know how far away we are from that. I think it depends on your own level of personal competence. Because with a high level of personal competence, I'm going to see something from AI and go, that nuance is directed in the wrong direction, or that really small granular piece of information that then switches me in a completely different direction may or may not be accurate. So I think the interesting thing about AI in its form is I think it's so leverageable when you are well versed in a subject, but when you're looking at financial literacy, when you're looking at financial competency, there are some areas that I may feel very comfortable in, but there's a whole lot that I don't. Personally, my process is I don't want to trust one source. I want to sort of like do that bibliography of sources to understand reference points and understand lines of implications and things like that. So I think where your AI assistant comes in is to give you the context by which to consume the information to make a valid choice.
The interesting part is always the journey. It's not the destination. And
Yeah.
I fully agree with that. I've been curious since I got involved in ad tech, 20 years ago when I first entered it. And it's not the space I'm currently in. I had left it and I don't look back with any fondness. But I'm always curious where that technology and that industry is going to go, because it is the driver of so much of people's decision making. Like, we don't buy something because we make rational decisions. We buy something because of an emotional response we have to the brand or the product in particular. I mean, Nike, I love picking at Nike because I worked there for a while and I learned a lot about brand development while I was there. But you don't buy Nike shoes because they're the best shoes. You buy Nike shoes because they built a relationship with you that makes you feel a certain way, an emotional response to it. We have an emotional response to buying. And I'm always reminded of this when I see people driving a Jeep, because it has the lowest consumer reported reliability of any car brand on earth.
Absolutely.
And people keep buying them. Why do you keep buying Jeeps, people? Like, if you're an audience member and you bought a Jeep, tell me why. And it'll almost always come down to, oh, I thought it looked cool. It made me feel like I was rough and tumble or I was an outdoorsy person or whatever,
Absolutely.
right? Just a feeling, not because it's a good car. Sorry, Jeep. But that's where I'm really curious how this is going to play out, because it is just a matter of convincing somebody to trust. That's definitely part of it. And I think that that's the biggest part of celebrity endorsements. You see somebody like Michael Jordan playing basketball or, a famous soccer player playing their sport. You see them enough times, you see enough interviews with them that you feel like you know them and you say, oh, I trust them. And so when they tell me buy Adidas, okay, I trust them. I'm going to make the association with that individual emotionally more than I'm going to make it with any logic behind it. But what's really interesting is where you're at. Financial services, legal, there's a couple places I would say that logic has to drive more of it. And I think that
regulation drives more of it.
Yes. there's definitely a need to do your due diligence, and people don't have an emotional response to picking a financial service provider. And so it's very interesting that you've chosen a niche that's true. And because I'm curious too how that'll play out.
Which is why the reliance on third parties is so high for enterprise brands. But what you're talking about is brand equity. Brand equity is built through a lot of different means. Celebrity endorsements is one of them. Brand quality is another. Then there's sort of like reputational, there's a whole range of different things on how to build brand equity. But one of the things that I particularly like about the sectors that I've chosen to go into with this leverageable affiliate marketing model is that it has high regulation. Mm-hmm. So it's not the shoes, it's not the books, it's not the electronics, it's not all of those sorts of things, which in a consumer market, I feel is incredibly nuanced and to my mind, complicated and intricate, and a whole lot in terms of building brand equity, in terms of tracking different channels, in terms of the data. Some of that is, I should say, stripped away because of the legal framework by which we work. Like, not everybody can promote financial services as a bank because you're just not. And there are regulatory bodies that come down pretty hard on that. And the policing around it is pretty intense as well. So I think what it is that every niche, which is why I'm a niche player, not a generalist, is that I think every niche has its windows. And we're the only affiliate network in North America or all the world that focus on financial services. And people say to me, why now and why again? And I think the reason being is because I could see it because of these devices that we hold in our hand, because of digital account opening, because of consumer behavior and appetite, because of technology. It was all moving in a different way to AI that we were talking about before, but it's still moving to a much more digital consumption. And I think it is so different that it deserves its own speciality and its own focus. So that's why we did it.
So what's the name of the company and how would I find out more about it?
The name of the company is called Vintel Connect. And it's just vintelconnect.com. And really what we are is we're a specialist in performance marketing or affiliate marketing for financial services. That's our niche.
That's fantastic. So there's a related niche. As we were talking about it, I was thinking about software as a service or enterprise technology, and it already falls into a very familiar pattern. It looks very similar. It's just that affiliate program is done through channel marketing partnership agreements and these big contracts with big players. But it's basically the same thing, and it's for the same reason.
Yep. Well, it is. You get like you've got a new customer. Headless data, you've got a new customer and they sign up and there's a transaction that comes involved. Yeah.
Well, Nicky, it was fantastic having you on the show. I just realized that we're out of time and I loved having you on. This was a fantastic conversation. I'm really excited to see what you're doing and how that continues to grow. You've already launched in market. You're already out in the wild. People can, if they're in the market, they can reach out to you, which is good because I'm going to connect you with a few people after the show.
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Techtastic. I want to thank you personally for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Until then, keep exploring and stay curious. Thank you for listening. If you are new here and enjoyed the content, please subscribe. It really helps us out. And if you are a regular listener, thanks so much for your continued support.
Overwhelmed by tech debt? Discover Vala AI, the solution to tech challenges with the simplicity of a click. No engineering background? No problem. Vala AI enables anyone to effortlessly tackle tech issues, freeing up your time from tech headaches. Make tech debt vanish with Vala AI, where your tech solutions are just a click away.